Assalamu alaikum and welcome to this English news edition. Here are the main stories. Here are the main stories. The President Anglais returns to the country after the summit. The unemployment fragile embellish to the euro area. Those were the headlines. Thanks for joining us in our newsroom. His Excellency the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, returned to his homeland yesterday evening at his participation in the 8th Summit of African Union High Committee on Libya, which was held today in the capital of Congo, Brazzaville, to discuss ways to settle the Libyan crisis. Upon his arrival at Djibouti International Airport, the President of the Republic was received His Excellency Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, members of the government and high-ranking civil and military personalities. An African summit on Libya opened Thursday in Congolese capital Brazzaville to pave the way for an expanded summit of the African Union in the presence of Russia and numbers of African leaders, including His Excellency the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, are discussing ways to reduce escalation and stop foreign interference in Libya during this summit that began Thursday in Brazzaville, the capital of Congo. A source in the African Union said that this summit will discuss a three-point agenda that includes the crisis situation in Libya and ways to end fighting and foreign interference. The African Union defined the mission of a committee in conducting a dialogue with all Libyan parties, assessing the file situation and facilitating a comprehensive dialogue between the Libyan parties on a peaceful solution. This summit will be concerned with formulating a proposal that put an end to the crisis between the Libyan brothers, and in light of a Berlin conference pointed out that the situation in Libya has entered a very worrying stage of transformation. The Congolese president made a speech at the opening of the work of the African Union High-Level Committee on Libya. Furthermore, the Congolese president considered that the affirmation of an African position on the Libyan crisis will not be achieved without a sustainable financial cost. He therefore proposed the financing through the Peace Fund, which will soon be operational, of a political mission of the African Union for Libya. This will, in his view, be the first file of its operationalization. On the one hand, this will demonstrate our determination to Libyan actors and international partners. On the other hand, it will be the best illustrations of our commitment to a political solution to this crisis that affect the entire Saharan region. He said, the war is watching us, Africa is waiting us, but above all, the brotherly Libyan people who are suffering are waiting for us. 8 years after the outbreak of the Libyan crisis, so we no longer have an excuse, he added. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margele, has also made an important speech. Let's listen to the head of state.
Monsieur Denis Sassou Nguesso, Président de la République du Congo, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Excellence, Monsieur Moussa Faki Mahamat.
Excellency, Mr. Denis Sassou Nguesso, President of the Republic of Congo, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and government, Your Excellency Moussa Faki Mahamat, President of the African Union Commission, ladies and gentlemen, representatives of partners and various international organizations, ladies and gentlemen, I would first of all like to offer my condolences to our brother, President Sassou, for the loss of a member of his family. And I should also like to extend to the President of the Republic of Congo my warmest thanks and gratitude to you, your government, and the Congolese people for the warm and genteel welcome that has been extended to me and my delegation since our arrival in your beautiful country. At the outset, I would like to commend the holding of this highly important meeting under your leadership. You have assumed this immense responsibility with humility and honor. We are convinced that your wisdom, erudition, and vast experience will enable you to shoulder the heavy burden entrusted to you by our meeting, to relaunch the peace process in Libya and to find a way out of the crisis in that brotherly country. From the outset of the crisis in Libya, Africa has been marginalized and sidelined from any talks. It is said that nature abhors a vacuum. We, Africans, gave way to a plurality of players from outside the continent, thinking that this was a solution. It is sad, but it is a reality that we have to deal with. Nevertheless, these interventions have shown their limitations today. Worse, the crisis has only worsened and the suffering of the Libyan people continues to this day. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, Africa has developed an architecture according to which African problems must be solved by Africans. That has always been our motto. However, there is one thing that is clear. The will for peace and the commitment of the Libyan parties is the driving force behind any lasting solution to restore peace, from Tripoli to Benghazi via Tobruk. It is therefore time for us to work together with the Libyan parties and the neighboring states that are also affected to find a peaceful way out of a crisis that will put an end to this infernal and tragic process.
The President of the Republic has once again hammered the peace process who will be open at Brazzaville. Let's listen again to the head of state.
La vision africaine du règlement de cette crise se décline, selon nous, en 3 points. Un cessez-le-feu.
In our view, the African vision for resolving this crisis can be broken down into 3 points: a ceasefire, a strict compliance with the arms embargo, and national consolutions, followed by free and transparent elections. This approach is based on the principles of the protocol establishing the Peace and Security Council, in particular, the peaceful settlement of disputes and conflicts and non-interference in the interior affairs of a member state. Secondly, it is essential that we define the strategy by which we wish to implement this African position. This includes the modalities of contribution and cooperation with the United Nations, neighboring states, particularly within the framework of the Nouakchott process, and international partners. Furthermore, we need to agree on the leverage of our commitment to peace and security in order to deal with the possibility that some actors may not respect the aforementioned principles. Finally, we must adjust the institutional arrangements on the ground not only to implement the African position, but also to confirm it. To that end, the mechanism deployed must be optimal and avoid any duplication with a clear decision-making process at every level. That is, from the African Union Special Envoy to the high-level panel, the Peace and Security Council, and, finally, the Assembly of the Heads of State and the Government. Furthermore, it is imperative that the African actors deployed benefit from adequate, appropriate human financial resources and flexible mechanism within the framework of the Union's regulations. The affirmation of an African position on the Libyan crisis will not be achieved without a substantial financial cost, my dear brothers and sisters. While the peace forum will be fully operational, I would like to propose that the financing of an African Union political mission for Libya should be the first ground for its operationalization. On the one hand, that will demonstrate our determination to Libyan actors and international partners. On the other hand, it would be the best illustration of our commitment to a political solution to this crisis, which affects the entire Sahelo-Sahara region. Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the world is watching us. Africa is watching us, but above all, brotherly Libyan people who are suffering are waiting for us 8 years after the outbreak of the Libyan crisis. We no longer have an excuse. We are witnessing every day the consequences and avatars of the Libyan crisis in several brotherly countries, including Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad, and Sudan. The credibility of our peace and security architecture depends on our collective will to find appropriate and effective solutions.
The head of Djibouti diplomacy, Mr. Mohamed Ali Yusuf, stated in a statement to the national TV that he indicated to the President of the Republic that he will share a meeting of the High Committee of the African Union scheduled to be held on February 7 in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa. With regard to this meeting, which the President of the Republic participated, devoted to discussing the Libyan crisis and ways to find a way out of this ongoing war in this fraternal country. Mr. Mohamed Ali Yusuf noted that the Libyan crisis has been going on for 9 years and resulted in civilian casualties and the destruction of infrastructure. He added that there are external interventions and terrorist militia that impede peace and security, noting that at the same time there is no prominent rules by African countries, and we have given way to other dialects as the United Nations to find a sustainable solution in this war in Libya. The President of the Republic of Congo shared this meeting to discuss the Libyan issues, and that the Republic of Djibouti will share the AU Peace and Security Committee next month, and that this meeting aimed to accelerate negotiation and dialogue with a view to reaching a solution to this crisis. He added that the solutions in Libya is very complicated because there are differences of visions among the Libyans, and he added also that despite the weak capabilities in the African Union, the solution must be in Africa. The Republic of Djibouti praised the effort of President Donald Trump for the Middle East peace plan. The Republic of Djibouti believes that the establishment of an independent Palestinian state of the borders of 1967 with East Jerusalem as its capital is the only solution to a lasting and just peace between Palestinian and Israelis in accordance with international law and all United Nations Security Council resolution. The Republic of Djibouti believes in the virtues of dialogue and negotiation to resolve despite and appeals to the wisdom of Palestinian and Israeli leaders to resume dialogue for a two-state solution. And now, still on national news, the Minister of Defense responsible for relation with the Parliament, His Excellency Mr. Hassan Umar Mohammed, accompanied by Mr. Ayed Moussaid Yahya, Ambassador for the Republic of Djibouti to Italy, with the residents in Paris, as well as a civilian and military delegation of the Djiboutian Army Forces, were received yesterday, Thursday, 30, at the headquarters of the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs by Mr. Lego Di Maio for a working meeting. During this meeting, the two authorities reviewed the excellent bilateral relation existing between the two countries in the political, economic, and social military file. This illustrates the unique feature and natures of the cooperation, which has made Italy one of the Djibouti's friendly nation since our independence. Particularly, the emphasis was placed on civil cooperation in the health and social file, where in Italy has always been a value pattern. Both parties call for Italian direct investment to be more visible on the Djiboutian market. The Ministry of Defense, Mr. Hassan Omar Mohammed, informed during this working meeting and exchange with our Italian partners about our candidacy for a non-permanent post in the United Nations Security Council for the period 2021-2022. During the election to be held on June 2020 in New York. It was yesterday the Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohamed Mahmoud, received the Deputy Minister of Education of Cuba, Mr. Dania Lopez. This meeting took place in the presence of the Ambassador of Djibouti in Cuba, Mr. Nasser Mohamed Asabu, and the Minister's advisor, Mohamed Barkhad. During the meeting, Minister Mustafa Mahmoud gave a detailed presentation on the Djibouti schools, its history, development, and ambition. In addition to the current foreign project, for her part, Ms. Dania Lopez made a presentation on the educational system in her country, noting that more than 1.5 million students are located in 6,000 educational institutions, mostly from rural areas, and the Cuban public schools offer learning about plastics arts and the painting arts. Still on educational news, the Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohamed Mahmoud, and Chairman of Educational Relief Foundation, Sheikh Mansour bin Musallam, visit the educational institution in which the pilot project on balance and comprehensive education was implemented. This visit took place accompanied by the Minister of Education in the state of who participate in the Third World Summit on Balance, the comprehensive. The minister and his guests visit preschools on preparation course and a qualification center for the basic education teachers, where they meet with official teachers and the students. These talks allow visitors to familiarize themselves with the linguistic, human, and professional abilities of the teachers who contribute to the establishment of foreign delegation during the Third World Summit on Balance and Comprehensive Education that lasted for 3 days. The head of port authorities and prisons spokespersons Abubakar Umar Hadi held a lunch banquet in honors of the head of Educational Relief Foundation, Sheikh Mansour bin Musallam. The occasion took place at the headquarters of the International Towers of Djibouti, which is located in the 23 kilometers point, in the presence of the Ministry of National Education, Mr. Mustafa Mohamed Mahmoud, and the Minister of and the ministers Aisha, in the addition to the diplomats and dignitaries of noted work that Mr. Sheikh Mansour bin Musallam visit to Djibouti comes within the framework of the Third World Summit on the Balance and Comprehensive Education. The People's Palace hosted the Sounds and Light training ceremony organized for the staff of the Stadium RTD Palace and the Kripen. Certificate of participation to all the beneficiaries who attended the training. The 10 days training courses was organized on the sidelines of the Third World Summit on the Balanced and Inclusive Education in Djibouti, and was conducted by two international experts in the partnership with the People's Palace. The main personality of the training were Mr. Trick, a sound expert, and Mr. Angel, a light expert, who share their knowledge and expertises with the beneficiaries from the institution, such as the Palace RTD and the Crepen of the at the stadium. The director of the People's Palace, Mr. Abaizid Ahmed Ali, thanked the trainers and asked the trainees to apply the result of this training in their daily work. He also specified that this type of training will be renewed in the long terms. The expert thanked the Director General of the Institute for his effort. On Wednesday, the students of Ali Sabi High Schools, led by the teachers, went to Lac Assal to visit the various geological sites, accompanied by the headmasters, Mr. Ahmed Abdul Qadir Okiye, and the supervising teachers. The pupils of the first site were able to observe geological transformation and the potential in the field of geology. On this occasion, the pupils were able to discover many different geological sites in Djibouti, which were previously titled known both in terms of beauty of the landscape and the geological discoveries. It was indeed an ensuring adventure for the pupils and an opportunity to discover the geological wealth of the country. Lac Assal is one of the lowest point in the world, 155 meters below sea level, an extraordinary landscape among the most impressive in the world. The representative of Tajora regional gender officials share a consultation meeting with the Women's Artisanals Cooperative with the aim of revitalizing and enhancing the Palace of Handicraft in the region. Subsequently, the representative of the regional office, Ms. Khadija Mohammed Ibrahim, made a visit to the monitor project of the file of various beneficiaries began window who have benefits from the livestock, namely goats, and two of them, one which is a beneficiary of this project. The project, Ms. Aisha said she was satisfied with this project initiated by the Ministry of Women's Affairs. How much she said this project is beneficial because the project was allowed us to market the milk and sell to the goats of these livestock, and did not fail to thank the Ministry of Women's Affairs, Ms. Mumina Ahmed, the ministers. The young girls beneficiaries of IGR project said she was very pleased with the support of the Ministry of Women, and which enabled her to realize her cosmetic project. Moving on to the international and regional scenes, 38 people have been killed and dozens more wounded following an alleged militia attack in Beni, Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where hundreds of people have died in violence since November. Congolese troops carry out a military operation against an army group in the east of the country, but the militia responded with a series of massacres against the civilians. Thank God some were able to escape, others were beheaded and died. Ms. KPC Kambala brothers of a victim said, "I don't know the numbers of deaths, but there were many. I saw some who were still breathing, and we got them back. Two people with the skills fracture causes by matches were admitted to Ocean Hospital for surgery. The patient has multiple head injuries, matches wounded. Some wounded are deeper and even reach the bones," said Dr. Andre. And in the hospital, the main attack took place Tuesday evening in Mazanki, in village 20 kilometers northeast of Oshia. The unemployment is at its lowest level in the euro area since May 2008, according to figure published on Thursday by the European Statistic Office. Eurostat is its rate fell slightly again last November and last December by 0.1 pointed compared to November to reach 7.4 percentage in the 19 state concerned. The same drop was seen for all 28, for which the rate fell to 6.2%. However, the major disparities remain between countries, as in Spain, unemployment in Greece has fallen sharply, but still affected 16.6% at the working population. This year, however, the margins for growth will mark time after the IMF draw north revision of global growth outlooks last November. This is it for this edition. Thanks for watching and have a good night.